Kindly, good defense. Lead pass, throw.
Stop it! Stop it! Do not do it like that! What are you doing, Dragons?
Here's Blake to Roy. This is for the win. Yes! Brandon Roy with a free on the Blazers. I beat the Rockets in overtime.
That says a lot. Here comes McGrady. Oh, he just sucked the gravity right out of the building. What a play by T-Man.
How about the passion? Look at the animation on Tracy Mcgrady.
What if? A question we all ask ourselves daily. Maybe not always speaking about NBA what ifs, but that's what we're doing today. Throughout the 76 years or so of NBA basketball, there's always been some legendary talents, and there's been some busts, and there's been a ton of what ifs. Whether that's what if this player did or didn't get traded to this or that team, or what if this player's career happened a little bit differently, we all know there's a lot of them. Which is why today we do have some honorable mentions, being Grant Hill, Bill Walton, and the late Len Bias. Grant and Bill both had pretty successful NBA careers. Bill was the only person to ever be the MVP and the sixth man. Grant was a multiple-time All-Star and is a member of the Hall of Fame as well. They, just like everybody else on this list, suffered a lot of injuries throughout their careers, and because of this, they were cut short. As for Len Bias, he unfortunately didn't get a chance to have an NBA career, so we'll never know. But I have to pay my respects and homage to him, seeing as he was a monster at Maryland University, and clearly he was a tremendous talent. Now, on to NBA what-ifs. Number 1, Derrick Rose. I actually wasn't going to include Derrick Rose in this video because as a Derrick Rose fan, I'm actually very content with how his career is going / has gone. If you've read his book, which if you haven't, I strongly recommend it, it's a very insightful read, he mentions that injuries happen a lot and it's a part of the game of basketball. He has a very, very humble approach as to what happened, when, and why it did at such a young age. He got to win an MVP for his city, and he even had moments of resurgence, averaging 18 points for the New York Knicks in 2017, then kind of being bounced around in dealing with more injuries throughout his tenures with the Cavs, the Wolves, and the Pistons. However, he had many awesome and notable moments in those seasons, including his 50-point game on Halloween night with the Timberwolves against the Jazz. Him receiving MVP chance in Chicago while shooting free throws in a Pistons jersey, and even getting to play just playoff basketball again, I think is enough for Derrick. I'm sure he's just thankful to hoop and be a mentor for these young guys again. As much as I love Derrick, this still doesn't, however, mean he's safe from the what if label. Derrick was only 22 years old when he shocked the world and became the MVP. Playing in 81 out of 82 games, averaging 25 points, 7.7 assists, 4 rebounds, and shooting 48% from the field and 33% from the three. He led the banged up and very old Bulls to the 1 seed, going 62-20 in a very tough Eastern Conference. Granted, it was very top heavy, but you have to think of who was on top. The Miami Heat's big three with Wade, Bosh, and Braun, the big 3/4, depending on how you look at Rondo's part in the Celtics. Personally, I see it as a big 4, but then also the 3-time Defensive Player of the Year, Dwight Howard-led Magic, were a big part of the early 2010s. Nonetheless, the Chicago Bulls were on top until the Eastern Conference Finals. The Bulls lose in a hard-fought 6-game series against the Miami Heat, and everyone who is a fan of the Bulls just said, it's alright, they have the future and next year to look forward to. Everyone will be healthy.
We're looking to sweep you guys. You wanted us. You were crying out that you bypassed the harder team in Miami Heat.
Rose came down bad on his left foot. See him holding on to his knee and down.
Every fan in Chicago basketball knows exactly where they were when they got the news Derrick Rose tore his ACL. Defeating would be the adjective I'd use to describe it. The entire future is in your and Chicago's hands, and then poof, it's gone. Derrick would miss the entire 2012 and 2013 season and continue to deal with a laundry list of injuries before being traded from Chicago in late 2016. Only time would have told what Derrick would have been, and I like to think he'd be a champion and still may be one day. But for now, we can only ask, what if? Number 2, Brandon Roy. probably the least popular name on this list, but the one I'm most excited to talk about. The late great Kobe Bryant had this to say about Brandon Roy in 2010. He's one of the most difficult players to guard. 365 days a year, 7 days a week. Roy has no weaknesses in his game. Kobe said this while Brandon was coming off a season averaging 21.5 points, 4.7 assists, and 4.4 rebounds on 48% from the field and 33% from the three. The game's pace was a lot different 12 years ago, so seeing his numbers, you wouldn't immediately think he's some standout player, but it's very easy even for anyone to watch a few minutes of Brandon Roy hoop and immediately pass him on the eye test. Brandon played the game with his own style. It's very clear to see where he drew his inspiration of shot creation and play type, but aside from that, he just has patience when creating. Whether he'd beat you off his first step, break you down in a triple threat, or meet you 40 inches up at the rim, he was lethal. Unfortunately, Brandon had suffered a numerous amount of knee injuries and surgeries throughout his short NBA career. His teammate, Greg Oden, suffered a numerous amount of injuries as well in his short NBA career. One of my favorite Brandon Roy moments was Game 4 of the 2011 NBA playoffs. The Blazers were down 2-1 on their home floor, facing a 20-point deficit with 2 minutes left in the third quarter. Even though the Blazers didn't go on to win the series or anything in the years following, all fans of Brandon Roy got to smile as he went off for 18 points in the fourth quarter, including a tough pull-up jumper on the elbow to help rally for the win. Brandon Roy and this Portland Trail Blazers team, consisting of Oden, Roy, and LaMarcus Aldridge, is a huge what-if in its own. After all, their record together when all three of them saw the court was incredible. In the 62 games they played, they were a dominant 50-12. However, 62 games is not enough to excuse the sad truth that Brandon had very bad knee issues. Roy announced his retirement from basketball due to a degenerative knee condition at the age of 28, leaving him to be another what if. Number 3, Tracy Mcgrady. T-Mac is one of the first players I ever became addicted to watching, a true human highlight reel. For those of you who didn't get to watch him, I'd compare his scoring ability to someone like James Harden in 2017/2018, but only bigger, faster, and way more explosive. Just for comparison, Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant are two guards that you'd compare, at least offensively. I'd say Jordan and Kobe are definitely leagues better defensively. But now imagine them, but 2 inches taller. Tracy McGrady is 6'8" for reference. That's the same height as LeBron. Tracy wasn't nearly as filled out as LeBron, but when getting to work down low, he'd use every inch of his height to his advantage. Like Brandon, McGrady was patient when it comes to scoring relentlessly on other teams. It didn't care how long it took. It's just like he knew he'd hang 30 on your favorite player wherever he wanted to and whenever he wanted to. T-Mac's career is hard to look at and judge because he had so many legendary moments in his career, but not much to show as far as accolades. Everybody respects Mr. 13 points in 33 seconds, but he's always chalked up as a what-if because he retired at the young age of 32 and never made it past the first round despite being up 3-1 and confidently saying he'd make it past the next round in the 2003 playoffs versus the Detroit Pistons. He's a Hall of Famer, so some of you may disregard his label as a what-if, but you can't tell me you don't see this stat line and wonder what would have happened if he stayed healthy. And for that reason, Tracy unfortunately falls as a what if. And that's all for me today, guys. I really hope you enjoyed this style of video. I'm just going to keep trying to push a variety of content, whether it's a little bit longer documentary style or a little bit shorter like this where it's kind of more opinion based. If you guys could just let me know what you think down below in the comments, I would really appreciate that. I love to respond to you guys and stay active and get engaged. Speaking of that, if you have any NBA takes, again, like I said, I love to have conversations with you guys. Just leave them down below and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. If you like this video, please leave it a like. If you're new, you can subscribe and hit that bell. It really helps out with the algorithms. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Peace.